to another live session with me, Clarice, and this is going to be our final Christmas session or holiday session right before Christmas. So I'm just going to give you guys a couple of minutes to kind of trickle in as I adjust my screen and just adjust everything that I have. And I also want to make sure that I have my screen on so I can read comments. So give me 1 second to do that. And I'm giving you time to kind of come in. And let's do this. So how's everyone's week going so far? Are we excited for Christmas? Are we excited for holidays? And just kind of spending time with family? Is anyone taking time off? Okay, here we go. I have it up. Hey, Zanette. Good morning or good afternoon on my end. Hi, Jill. Hey, Patty. Hi, Janet. All right, so quite a few regulars on here. Fabulous. Okay, so just want to quickly touch as we are chit-chatting away. I did ask if anyone's taking time off or whatever. I will be taking time off. And by time off, I mean just like from work and just doing new stuff, most likely. Actually, you know what? I'm torn because watercolor is so therapeutic for me that I don't really see it as a chore or a job. So you never know. I'm going to say I'm taking time off, but if I post something online, it's a win-win for everybody. But for now, I just want to quickly touch on this wreath here, this extremely loose wreath that I've done. This was something that we did yesterday on our patron and members Zoom party. And that was a lot of fun. And then this went live. We did it as a live session. And then I guess quite a few of you were surprised the fact that it was a Saturday live as opposed to our regular Sunday. So hope you guys got a chance to check this out. But keeping in with the whole tradition and time of the season, I'm going to do another wreath today. And today we're going to do it not in circular format. We're going to take this style and maybe add a couple of blooms. Let me know in the chat what you guys think. Should we do blooms? Should we just kind of keep it simple with a lot of leaves in different variations of green and then just like berries? Or should we also include a couple of blooms? Let me know in the chat. But it's going to be in a square format and it's only going to be on the outside. So if you have washi tape or if you have, did I pronounce that right? I think I did. Or just any sort of tape that you can just tape on the insides of the square that we're going to do. And then we're going to paint on the outside. I have this, which is masking fluid. So I can get away by painting just tracing the rectangle with masking fluid and then allowing it to dry and then kind of going in and doing our pretty bits around. And okay, so I'm just reading the comments really quickly as I also kind of try to figure out where I can get a square or rectangle shape to kind of trace on here. Because I hate using a ruler to kind of do it because then it always something's always off for me. But let's see what people are saying. Patty's up for anything. Hey, Lynn. Hi, Alva. Yes, Jill says loves blooms. Hey, Steffi. Okay, yes for blooms. Hey, Kathy. Lynn says I like simple. Thanks, Lydia. Merry Christmas to you and yours as well. Thanks for joining. Oh, yes, I'm sure Patty's making bread. And if she's not making bread, she's probably making sorbet. So let us know in the chat, Patty, because I think everyone wants to know what you're doing today. All right, so while Patty is doing that, I'm going to quickly get our rectangle in here or a square, whatever you prefer. And what I'll do is I'm just kind of going to go with the flow based on this looseness that we created yesterday. And we're going to recreate that. And if I feel like doing a bloom, I will. And for those of you who don't want to do blooms and just want to keep it simple by doing the berries, please go ahead, continue, just like do the berries and make it your own. But we'll do a bunch of different things and then you can pick and choose what you want to do or not do. All right, so give me a second. I think I do need something to trace. You know what? With this, no, this is too big. Give me another moment to find. Okay, I can't seem to find a rectangle. Ooh, I found something. I found a Swarovski box. And I'm just going to do it is kind of small, but I could probably get quite a nice thing around it. And the one thing with what we're doing today is you can kind of do these and then afterwards cut the insides out and make it like an actual frame where you can slide in a picture or maybe even fold this in half and create a card. You know what? Let's do that. I'm going on a whim. We're gonna fold this and make this a card. I know it's a fairly large card, but let's just go with it. You can kind of trim it to whatever size you want or just kind of do what we're doing right now. And I will create my square right here in the center. And then I can kind of cut the middle out later and yeah, do fancy stuff. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and trace my square. I need a pencil, which I have right here. And tracing my square really quickly. The edges are a little bit rough, so and my pencil's a little dull, so it's taking a couple of tries here. All right, okay. So there we go. I have a square, and now I am just going to go ahead and add in some of my masking fluid in there. So I'm just gonna take off some masking fluid. If you want to use tape, please feel free to kind of tape the insides, okay? So then when we're painting on the outside, it's not too out of range. So I'm just taking like a really old looking brush and I'm just gonna paint the insides, okay? So just getting some stuff from in here. And I wanna just cover the top just in case. Now I'm not going to paint the whole square, obviously, because that's not needed. I just want to do a thick edge. So in case I get any color seeping in, it kind of bypasses this area and gives us a nice straight edge as we paint along. So I hope you guys don't mind. Today I am totally winging it with an idea, and just like initially I started off with saying let's do a square wreath, and now we are now doing a we're doing a square wreath framed card. So let me just get this edges straight. Okay, wow, this stuff's drying up really quickly. Maybe my stuff's going bad and I've barely used it. I think I've used it like twice. Anyone know anything additional about masking tape? Let me know, because maybe I'm not storing it properly. I mean, obviously I'm not storing it with the lid open, but it seems to be getting quite grainy. Is this normal? Let me know in the chat. All right, so just kind of going along, getting our nice hard edged happening. And I'm swiping a couple of times, and maybe that's why it's getting weird looking. But I remember the first few times I did use this, it wasn't quite, it wouldn't dry this quickly, so something's changed. I'll just do one quick swipe again, and then retire the brush. Okay, I think that's good enough. Okay, so putting this brush aside, actually I'm just gonna put it in water quickly. I think that brush has reached its end, but I just wanted to make sure that I can at least salvage a bit of it so I can get maybe a couple more uses out of it before possibly trashing it. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly wait for this to dry before we begin. Let me see comments, what people are saying or asking. Hey Laura, oh, it's a snowy Sunday for you. Okay, nice, no snow here. Zanette, oh, you did the cute little bear from last year, the Christmas bear. Yes, he's quite fun to do and a little bit easy, so I'm glad you're having fun with that. You should try and make like a family of bears, whoever you're giving it to, if they have like additional people in the family. Oh, HB Levi Creek, that's my daughter, guys. Hey, Hayden, thanks for joining in from the basement. Laura's never worked with masking fluid before. Yes, I just shop on Amazon quite a bit, so Winsor & Newton seems to be like a reliable brand, and so I ended up buying that. Oh, Janet, okay, dip the brush in soft soap. Okay, that's good. Didn't know that. Okay. Got it. Okay, Patty's saying the same thing, in liquid soap before I use it with latex. Okay. Good to know, guys. Hayden's being funny again. And Lee Vastenberg. Am I saying that right? Hello from Iceland. I remember you. Okay, so everyone's, I think everyone's pretty much sure and we're ready to do this. The consensus is dip the brush in soap before doing the masking fluid bit. I think this is long enough for it to have dried. So we're gonna start. Let me tell you what colors we're using. So sorry about my sniffles, by the way. For the greens, which we're gonna have quite a bit of, we're using the green. By the way, all my colors are St. Petersburg that we're using today. So this is green. It's called green. This is a yellowish, it's called yellowish green. We have umber, because I like to mix the umber with both of these greens to get something interesting. And the umber is like a greenish brown. Actually, it was a greenish brown mainly because I would dip in the green, go into umber, get some there, and so it had a coating of green on there. So the umber without the green coating is typically just a brown, which I found out recently. So some of you who were saying umber is brown, you were right, I was wrong. And then we have the raw sienna for a brown base, for twigs. For our berries, I really, really like this combination of using the Titan red. It's like an orangey, it's like a bright orange color, and then combining it with the carmine. And I'm also going to use the Madder Lake red because if I want another variation, I can always mix the two together. But I think because of the orange base and because of the pink base here, they kind of give you a really nice blend. And that's what it looks like. So if you like colors like this, this is what, these are the colors you need to use. And those are also the colors I used for this week's wreath tutorial. I don't know if you guys caught that, but yeah, that's what the peonies were made of, the carmine and the Titan red, and you can see them side by side and mixed in. All right, okay, so let's begin. So we're gonna start off with doing a couple of green items in and around the area. I'm going to use a combination of my mop brush in the 1, Silver Black Velvet in the 4, the 8, and then I'm just going to keep this 10 handy because it's got a nice longer brush area compared to the others. So just going to keep that handy, keeping all of them aside. And the first thing we're going to do is we'll start off with using the mop brush. And I like the first set of colors that we use to kind of just happen to be a light base before we go on to doing darker shades. So I'm going to mix in some of my umber. And this can be the green that you use to kind of dab in as we kind of go along and create more greenery in our square wreath. There's a bit of extra water here, so I'm just going to take my paper towel and dab some excess off, because I don't want it to be too watery. And so here's the umber, which was mixed in with some of the green previously. And just to switch it up a bit, I'm gonna get in some of the yellowish green in there. And let's see what it gives us. Now this consistency, we're looking at like a 60-40 consistency where 40% color, 60% water, so we have a decent enough color, but it's not super dark and opaque looking. All right, so this is the color I'm going to start off with, guys. Feel free to use any which color or shade of green that you want. And before I begin, I'm going to keep this number 8 handy, because once I put in some strokes, I'm going to go in with this using just water to soften some of the leaves up that I create. And that will give us that nice, soft blend happening. All right, so let's begin. So the first set of leaves, I always like to keep them simple. So it's just pressing down and dragging away. Dragging off the sheet, I mean. Oops, I had some color on here. So let's start from the corner. So I'm going to press down and then push all the color down to the bottom. And now using my number 8, I'm going to do the exact same motion next to it. I needed a little bit more water because it kind of got some of the green, but not really. And that's okay if it did that, because then you can kind of just go in and add another stroke and it'll kind of spread in the direction of the water that you've kind of laid down. And if it doesn't, like it is not over here, just go in with your brush and move the color around. All right. And I'm going to go back in with this one and just do one more. Just like that. And now using this brush, the number 8 that I have, pushing all the color down, of course, I'm going to go in, extend it, and add a couple of leaves using just water. And it's going to give us that run of color happening. And I'm just doing one to the side as well. And now, as this is kind of seeping and doing its thing, mine seems to be pooling a bit. I think I used too much water here, so I'm just going to sweep off and push the color or the water down. Okay, I'm going to go in and get some green directly from, I'll use my number 4, directly from my green palette. And I'm just going to add a couple of dabs onto the center here. And I want the color to flare out into the leaves And if it's not doing that, press down and just kind of push it away, help it along. Because that's what happens if it's dried, or the, what's the word that I'm looking for? If the dampness isn't quite conducive to the spread. So you kind of just help it along. And again, I just want there to be a variation in light and darks. And especially because this is starting from the side, I want there to be a slight bit of darkness at the center there, or at the base. And then you can kind of just have one happening there too, and kind of guiding along with the leaves. And there we go, we got some leaves there. We'll try the same technique down here. And we're gonna do pretty much the same thing we did there. Hopefully this will be a lot looser looking. So pressing down, dragging away towards that area. Now I'm taking some water and I'm doing the same motion. And it's not quite doing what it did over there, but again, like I mentioned, just go in with the color and add your bit. Then I'll just do one more stroke here, and then going in with this and adding some dark green to the edges. So you always want to push your color downward. And like I said, if it's not doing what, like if it's not blending in as well, just kind of press down and drag all the way to the bottom and cheat your way around it. Sometimes it's also the kind of paper, and my paper is the basic watercolor Canson paper that I use, so it's nothing fancy, and the dampness isn't quite nice as it would be for like 100% watercolor. Like it's not 100% cotton, not 100% watercolor. That's what I was trying to say. All right, so we've done this. Just like we've got a couple of strokes here happening at the top, I'll do some over here too, kind of at the bottom. And very loose. And just giving it some direction. Okay. I'm just adding a couple here too. There we go. And then I'm going to leave it at that. Now, I've mentioned previously many times, I like to do things in threes. So we should do this again. And this time I'm going to do them. Actually, because it's a 4, it's a square, we're probably going to have to do it like, if we do one here, do one here to kind of balance it out, or diagonally as well. So let's do the diagonal, like right here. And just extending and adding another brush stroke there. Now I'm going to go in with my number 8, and I will just add a tiny stroke here, and then just like another stroke here. And I just want the water to kind of flow in that direction. It doesn't have to be a very prominent looking leaf. I just want it to kind of have a hint of, oh, there's more foliage happening there. And then let's do the same thing over here. Yeah, let's do it here. And same thing as I did previously. Adding a couple of strokes to have some of the color pull out. And where's my number 4? I had my number 4 here for the darker green, and just kind of have it at the bottom of these, maybe at the stem area, just to sort of have it blend in a little bit. You can do what we did previously by adding just a swipe as well, and then this way you have that two-tone look. I'll do one here and then just do a stroke down the middle and just adding a little more of the lighter green so it doesn't look too dark, and pushing the color down to the base. All right, so we got some of our greens happening. Just adding some there. Now we can kind of go ahead and do some other variations of the leaves that we're doing. For that, let's use some of the brown. I'm going to use in some of the raw sienna that we have. And you can kind of mix it on the side if you wish. It might be easier for you to kind of just dip in and then go with the flow. So I'm going to use this for the stem, and I will use the number 10 for the actual leaf painting of it. Leaf painting. All right, so let's start off by doing some right here. So I'm going to do a stem that kind of comes out this way and make it look like it's like halfway down already, and then maybe pushing one off on this side. So do your stems however way you wish. This just gives us direction for how we're going to be doing our little strokes. And next I am going to go in, get in some of the dark green. I should have mixed this earlier. And I'm getting in a tad bit of the brown and a little bit of the umber. Okay, a lot of the umber. And now using just the tip, I'm going to create a whole bunch of strokes. And I want them to be sporadic because then I want to go in with another shade of green and kind of add that to the mix. And that should give us a nice blend, or I'm hoping. So now I'm going to go directly into the dark green without washing any color off, and I'm doing the exact same motion. And it gives you a nice soft blend. That is what we want for this. And then just go in with the brown that you have and add your stroke in the center again. And this will kind of flare and give you that blend of color with the greens on top of what you already have. So once you finish doing this, let's repeat this a couple of times to kind of get this nice fir kind of look around. Pine, not fir, pine. So again, I'm getting some of my brown, and I will do some on this end here. And let's do it coming out this way. And this time I'll start off with doing, the exact same thing that we've been doing before. Just adding our quick strokes of green. Yeah, it would be helpful if I made the branch a little more distant so then it's not too close to what we have. But again, this is a very loose style of painting, so it doesn't have to be spot on. As long as we have a nice, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a nice display of color that triggers our senses to be happy. That is all we need. Should look nice and bright and merry. So I'm giving my pine leaves some direction here by almost doing a little curve. Going in and adding some brown, and we're good. Let's do it one more area. And this time, let's do it in between these two guys here. We have this one going this way, this one going this way. Let's have this one going upward in this direction. I'm having it overlapping this bit a little. And once we've done that, just kind of going in and adding our strokes with just the tip of this brush. Twirl the paper around if you need to, so you can get that motion going, because sometimes if it's not in the right direction, you can notice that the strokes are changing and they're not as thin. And while it's loose and we're not looking for it to look spot on, it is helpful if it looks more cohesive and uniform, as opposed to suddenly everything is all like fat strokes as opposed to the thin strokes. So continuing on in this rapid motion, we're using the darker green. There we go. So we have that, and then I'm just going to go back in with the brown and add a couple of strokes in there with the brown. And I love that brown against the green. It looks so nice. Perfect. Okay. So now that we have this, we can kind of do a couple of other kind of leaves. But before we do that and we fill this area full of leaves, what I want to do is add in some of the berries. So let's do some of the berries. And this time we can kind of use the same brown actually. So I shouldn't have washed that off. We can use the same brown to create the stems and to create the actual berries themselves. Feel free to use a brush that you have more control over, because the berries need to be a certain size. So they definitely need to be smaller than the greenery. So just keep that in mind. So any brush you feel you have more control over the size, just kind of use that one. And so let's kind of make sure we have our colors ready too. So I'm just going to mix in some of the Titan red over here onto the side. And then I'm going to get in some of the Carmine and put that off to the side as well. And hopefully it's not touching the green too much. I'm mixing a little bit of the two together in the center. There we go. And I think I'm going to get some of the, just to see what that looks like, some of the, the Madder Lake red. Let's try that, shall we? There we go. So we have that, and we are ready to begin. Oh yes, I'm going to keep the Princeton number 8 handy in case I need to go in with just water to get that soft effect. Okay, so we're laying down our brown twigs, or what have you. Twigs, yes, twigs for our little berries first. So let's start one happening here. And let's have it seem like there's some kind of poking out from the bottom, overlapping there. There we go. So let's start off with that. So now I have that. I'm going to get in some of the Titan red first. And I'm just going to go ahead and create tiny little circular berries. And I'm going to do these in like 3 areas, and I'm leaving some white space in between. So they can be in varying shapes, but the dominant one needs to be like the most common size. So once I've done this, I'm going to dip the same brush in some of the other color that I have, and I am going to create more berries. And create some touching some of the previous ones that we've laid down. Some from the bottom here, touching the brown as well, so we get that nice blend. I'm going to create one here. Let's do one over here. And some tiny ones, kind of just almost like it looks like it's floating in air. Some in the back. And then I'm going to go in with the Princeton 8, and with just water on them, I'm going to start creating more berries. But this time I'm creating them just at the side of the ones that we've created already, and I want them to kind of draw the color from the color we've just laid down. So it looks like hints of berries glistening, possibly, maybe in the snow, I don't know. Maybe just the lighting of how it looks. And this gives us that nice, soft, loose feel to it without actually getting too detailed with our berries. I'm going to touch up certain areas by just adding a dot of color. And this way it kind of flares up and gives us like a two-tone look almost. So feel free to do any which color, like you can intertwine or interchange the colors that you're using between the Titan red or the whatever two colors you're using right now for the berries. So I'm going to dip some of the Titan red and add that to this one and give it that nice soft look. And there we go, we have our berries. So now I'm just going to do a couple of dots here and there to kind of indicate that there are some, and they're kind of like in the background, doing their thing, making everything look pretty. And just some darker ones here. So kind of like this will take some time. You decide where you want to put your berries and how you want them to be displayed and how much and blah blah blah. So entirely up to you. I am going to end this off by doing one here, and then we can move on to more. So we've done some there. Let's do some over here on this end. So adding some of the brown. Now you guys know exactly what I've done, so you can kind of do the same thing repeatedly everywhere else. So we'll do one. Let's do one. So this one's facing here. Let's do one over. Let's do one over here actually in the corner. And there we go. Let's do that. Keeping my number 4 aside, I'm going to get in some of the red this time and add my berries. Let's try and quicken the pace and see if we're able to do this slightly quicker. Oh, now getting some of the orange, touching some of the berries that we've already put in to kind of get another variation. Making sure you're leaving white space in between as you do these. Now going in with the number 8 and with just water on it, you're kind of doing the same motion. Make sure there's not too much water because then it'll pool. And don't worry if it's not pulling the color as it did previously, we can do exactly what we were doing with the leaves. We can cheat, kind of go in and add a dab of color in here and there where the water is, that is, and that'll give us that nice flare. So adding, this one seems to have dried already, so just adding in a little bit more, adding in a stroke here. Just going to add some sporadically around this area. And then our final dots to kind of indicate pretty ones in the background. And we are done after this. Okay, so that's that. Oh yes, I did forget to mention, if you want to go in and highlight some of the areas with the brown, what this will also do is it'll seep into the pink or the red or whatever colors you're using, and it'll give us another blend. Or if you want to leave it loose and light, then that's totally up to you. There we go. I just kind of highlighted them a little bit more. And we have these. And now let's do some on this end, and this side will be a lot tinier or smaller compared to the other sprigs that we have going on. And let's just do the one kind of coming out, and then going in with our brush, get some more of the Titan red. So I didn't end up using the Madder Lake red as yet, but let's see if I do end up using it. Seems to be too much color on here, or water. So I'm just using the tip to kind of create these semi-circle shapes. And now once I've done that, just washing off most of the water and color, I'm getting in some of the pinky carmine. And I'm going to create the same shapes next to these, and just keeping them to the max size that we've kind of selected for these, and adding these side by side to kind of get that nice blend. And then you can just taper off by adding your little dots. I'm just washing up most of the color, and I'm going to just get some, so just water on it. I'm creating the same little shapes to get our nice faded, faint looking berries around. And then I'm just doing a couple of dots here and there to kind of phase out. All right, okay, so that's that. So we have this happening, that happening there. Okay, perfect. So now we can kind of do, I know people said no blooms, or well, there was a mix. I am actually going to go ahead and do a bloom because I feel like doing some. I will do one here because there's good enough room, and possibly there. Let's see. So for this, you know what color I have not used at all this season, or it doesn't feel like I've used it, is the violet. So I'm going to get some of that and mix it onto my palette. I'm going to mix it near this carmine because I feel like if it blends in, it'll be a decent blend and a complementary jewel tone color, as opposed to mixing it next to the orange. I think maybe that would be disastrous. So just going to do that quickly. Here it is. And what I want to do before I start this is I'm going to give it a yellowy center. So for that, I'm going to use my, not the cadmium lemon, but the, my ochre. But I don't seem to see it anywhere. So if you have your ochre, oh, here it is. Here it is, got my ochre. So I'm gonna use the number 8 because I have the color on this one here already. So I'm using the number 8 to get in a little bit of the center. So I'll do a flower that's kind of peeking up halfway. And I'm leaving a lot of white space around it. So this is gonna look like a sun. And we're just creating like a couple of linear lines around it. And then a couple of dots above it, a couple of dots on the inside. It just needs to look very sporadic. All right, so now once I've done that, I'm gonna go ahead using the color that I have, which is the violet mixed in with the carmine, and I'm gonna create a couple of strokes, very similar to those of the leaves, to kind of get some, actually no, not the leaves. You know what, we're gonna do comma strokes and get it to look like one of those roses. So I'm just pressing down and dragging away, and then taking some water. I'm kind of going above it, and then pressing down, dragging up. And then I'm going to do a couple of strokes in the pink color above. I've just used the same brush without washing any color off, and that should have been a little more pinky. There we go. And now once I have these random strokes at the top, I'm going to go, I've washed off most of the color, and I am just creating, using water to kind of create these swirly lines around. And make sure you're leaving white space in between. And you're touching a little bit of the yellow. So it's dark in the center, light on the outside. All right, and then we're just going in with some of the purple and just touching up the center so it looks nice and dark. Perfect. I'm just gonna add a couple of like really loose strokes at the end so it doesn't look like it just stops short, but it's like fading off. So we've done one there. Let's do another one off to the side on this end. And again, you can use the same colors or use a different, yeah, let's use exactly what I've used right now because I don't want to confuse you guys. I'm going to use my yellow ochre, and this one I'm going to create like a what's the word called, like a oval shape, because I want to try and restrain this to be smaller because obviously it can't be too big. When I do blooms, they always kind of get massively huge. And I don't want it to be massively huge for this one at least. So now using what we previously used, which was the violet, let me get some on here. And I'm going to get some of that carmine off to the side. And we're just going to do, again, the same strokes that I mentioned. So pressing down this way, another one, and dipping the tip of my brush in water, doing another stroke right there, dipping the tip in water again, pressing down. Literally, you can leave it just like this. It doesn't have to have any more detail to it because it's a very loose floral. So you could just leave it like this if you want. And then it looks like one just peeking off from the side. And just like we did previously, we're going to go in with some of the darker color and just add it in the center in hopes that it'll kind of blend in and give you a nice dark hue in the center. That is the point of this. And then I'm just adding one to the stroke there. Perfect. Okay, not going to touch that anymore. I'm going to leave that as is. If you want to smoothen out the edges, just use the brush with water and kind of just smoothen it out. And then it smooths out by itself. All right, so we have that. So now that we have this, I think we can kind of go ahead and, like I said, I like to do my things in threes. I know we said we'll do two, but I do feel like we should do at least like a hint of a petal or something happening off to the side. So I'm going to use the same brush that I have and getting some of the purple. I'm going to create just like a stroke over here and then another one this way. And then adding some of the pink in the area touching the edge. And I'll leave it at that. So this way we have like 3 areas with that purple and it kind of ties in nicer. All right, so now that we have all of that in, I think it's safe to say that we can add a couple more of the greenery items and then we call it quits. So for this, I want the green to be a lot darker, and so I'm just going to make it easier and use my green. So get your favorite brush that you like to create, I guess, leaves with, and we're going to have fun just doing a couple of pieces of foliage that kind of frame and give the whole piece some direction. So you can also kind of mix the green with the brown to get like a nice darker hue. I'll leave that up to you, or even with the umber, and that gives us a slightly muted, less rich, but like darker in brown kind of tone. All right, so I got some of the color on here, and I'm just going to create a couple of strokes like this, and we're going to kind of repeat them all over. So it looks like that, and then we're just adding down our leaves. So I like to create the stems first, and then it gives us direction. You can also kind of mimic these to look like mistletoe. I know mistletoe is a lot more curved at the end, and this looks more like rosemary, but make the change if that's what you prefer in your painting. I'm just kind of going to go with the flow and add these in different areas to kind of give it that nice thin line detail, rather. So I'm going to add some here. I'm going to get some of the color directly from the palette itself and just like switching it around. And if it overlaps onto the other petals, that's totally fine, because that's the whole point of us making them a lot lighter. Let's do some over on this end here. So I want these like shapes to be kind of sporadic all around, spread out, so then it looks like unified. Let's do some over here, right where, just like one over here, because I wanted to kind of peek out from where we did our floral. And then over here in this area. And for this, it needs to be darker. So make sure you dip directly from your palette. And there you go, you got some peeking out from there. And there can be some peeking out from here. Actually, yeah, because I only did it at the top. So, but if we kind of extended and kind of did some free-flowing ones, kind of look like this. And then just taking some water to kind of get another variation of the color of the green. There we go. And then we did some here, 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 and this side too. So let's do some on this end here. And now these are almost like, not almost, this is layering. We are layering these leaves right now to fill up these little gaps where we can kind of make sure it's filled up, so that once we take off the masking fluid, we have a nice enough base or rectangle shape, or square shape in my case, of color happening. So I'm just going to do one here. And I'll just do some over here too. Let's see. Can we get some anywhere else? Just tiny ones over here on this end. And feel free to make them look like they're literally like half of it is peeking or a quarter of it is peeking out, because that's the whole point of this. It's not supposed to look very, very full and detailed in that manner, but we're still doing the whole loose effect with things peeking out from the top. There we go. So we got some here. In fact, because it looks like a flower almost, I just want to extend this and make it that way. There we go. Let's see, what else can we do? Oh yes, let me do one over here on this end. I like how these are turning out. These are turning out great. Yeah, so I think that's good enough for now. Yeah, this is good enough. I'm just gonna finish off with super light ones that are happening just as a little bit here and there. And for that, I'm gonna use the same color that we used. I'm just mixing in some of the umber to get a lighter version. And you know what? Let's try and mix some of the ochre as well to get like a more yellowy version. Let's see if we can get a variation. Veep is asking, what do you use to mix your paints? Is that a clamshell? Yes, it most certainly is. This is my clamshell that I got, actually my daughter got it presented to her by a sailor, or a retired sailor, when we were in Newfoundland on vacation. And then I took it from her because I really liked it. And now it works great as a palette. All right, so for these, I have that muted green on there, and I'm just going to create little lines or stems. And for these, you can just keep them light and make them like from short to big, or from small to big rather, or long to short, however you want to put it. And I'm just creating them by adding like an imprint of my brush. So kind of like that. So I've done one there. Let's do one over here on this end. And again, the same method. Just want to make sure that nothing is wet. So just imprinting it in and pushing the color down. There we go. So we've got one there, one there. Let's do one in this area. I don't know why I've been leaving it open, possibly for this one. So let's do a nice tall one here. And so small, and we're going bigger as we kind of go down. Yeah, actually, you know what? If I do it this way, I get a nicer shape. And if they kind of touch each other, that's totally okay. I'm getting some of the darker green now. And I'm just going to continue adding that in. And then finally, you can kind of just go in and add a line. Just re-enhancing some of the tiny ones that I did at the edge. Okay, perfect. So that one's there. And yeah, I'll just do a faint one here. Let's try and make it faint, rather. So dipping the tip in water. So I can get it faint. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so I think this is good. There's literally no more space to add anything else. If there's anything, what I would say is for those of you metallic fans, you can actually go into some of the bigger green leaves that we did the first time and just add a couple of veins in there. Or you can just use your darker green mixed in with the brown maybe, or the umber, and kind of just go in lightly with a brush and add some detail. I'll leave that to you guys, but this is essentially what I would recommend the detail to look like, just for the large ones, maybe like 1 or 2 or 3. Yeah, and then kind of leave it as is. And yeah, so while this is drying, let me just quickly add these lines. And then I'm going to take this off and let's see what the center looks like. Just adding one more here, using the tip of this to get that nice thin line. There we go. Let's do one here. Okay, I'm going to be very honest with you guys. This does not look holiday-like or Christmassy at all. In fact, it looks very tropical to me. But that's probably because I have the beach on my mind. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys let me know in the chat if you have any questions or anything as I sit here and try and rub this off. and we conclude our live for today. In fact, I'm just realizing we didn't even have to do this in the center if we're going to kind of cut this off. But that's okay, because some of you might not want to cut it off. You might want to like stick a picture here of someone and then present this as a card, in which case totally makes sense. So let me just take this off. So for the others who have kind of joined in after I've explained exactly what we're doing, you can kind of see what we're doing. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so my idea was this can be a card. Just make sure you can see clearly. This can be a card. This can also be like one of those photo cards, I think you call them. And where you can kind of stick someone's picture inside and just crop out this area. And then you have like a nice, or you could even do some writing on the inside, do a poem, and you have a card. So I hope you guys like this. What did you guys think? I'm just going to read comments really quickly to see what everyone is saying. Thanks, Veep. Oh, Cindy, glad you liked it. Patty, awesome. Great. Marianne, it sounds like you're saying something really nice to me in Spanish, but I can't translate. I answered Veep's question already. Merry Christmas, everyone. Yes, Jody and Cindy and Alba, let's see. Oh, you guys are so sweet. I'm glad that the classes or the videos together have really enhanced our experience of COVID. I love our community, and so thank you. Honestly, I think I was telling Patty, I was like, I so appreciate you guys. It's been so much nicer to kind of go through this lockdown and isolation, just having people that kind of show up regularly and kind of you share your love of therapeutic watercolor and just creating things for the sake of, I guess, keeping your mind sane, right? Let me see. So tell me, I know we're at 3:09 right now, so it's we're over an hour. Do you guys want to see me crop this, or are we good to go? Do you want to see what it looks like if we crop it, or do you kind of want to use this and have your own writing on the inside, or what would you like? Let me know, because this is going to be the last live. Then I'll do another one right before New Year's. So I think it's next Sunday. Writing inside. Okay, so Cindy. Okay, Cindy's the one who's responded. So let me do that. So this is how I do my cropping, guys. I've taken because I couldn't find my cropping mat. I have this Thomas Place mat. I have like 20 of them. So I figured I could just use one, and I use it to do my croppings with an X-Acto knife. So let me just do that really quickly. And I just want to make sure everything is dried up. I think this side is pretty dried up, so it's good. So we're just going to do the cropping really quickly. That's good. I don't want to get it too close to the edge. So as we kind of go crop more, I will know exactly where to stop, because if I go too far, then I might lose out on where it was meant to be. So just kind of cropping it really quickly. So this one is from here to here, okay. Almost. Let's do this third one, oh, fourth one, sorry. I'm gonna make it go slightly overlapping so then we don't have any white space. Okay, and now that I have a better idea, I'm just gonna go on the outside and do the crop. And finishing off the edges, and we're almost done. And our final one. Okay. All right, let's see this. All right, and here we are. So this is what it looks like. And if we were to put a picture in, so say if you were to use this as you're presenting someone with a photograph you took of them for Christmas or something, and this is something that they could probably frame with their photograph on the inside. Let me see if I have a picture handy here that we can kind of just put in and see what it looks like. And I am not... Wow, I only have a picture of my husband and I, but yeah, it's terrible. It needs to be like a picture. But yes, you know what? I think you guys get the idea, but this is what it would look like. You can have it this way, you can have it this way. You can even kind of go in and do some writing on the inside, like maybe a poem, or do some calligraphy if you guys are into lettering, and it makes a great card all around. So I hope you guys like this, and thank you for joining me. Yeah, and that's it, guys. So here's to wishing everyone a very Merry Christmas and a happy time with family. Thank you for watching. Please do share what you have done. I love to see it. So follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Send me a DM or send me an email even. Let's see what you guys do with this idea and how you kind of turn it and make it your own. So thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, have a Merry Christmas. Bye.